Hare Krishna. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Taksun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, I have a little audience here at Shamashram. Gopi Gita, Daivi Shakti, Hemalarada, and Senor Sham Kishore. So we have a little audience here. Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram. I have an admission to make, is I never really give lecture on Rama-navami. It's on my bucket list that I should read the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. But I really never did, because I'm always absorbed in the Bhagavatam and the Rasa Shastra. So I never really got into that. So whenever there's an appearance day of Lord Rāma, I really don't have much to say, because I don't really know the story. But that song, I can tell you a story about that song. I'll say a little bit something, and then it's going to be more philosophy today. I was once in Jagannath Puri with a group of students during the summer months or something. And then we had to go back. And the train ride from Puri to near Vrindavan is 48 hours. So we get on the train and there's no one on the train. Because what happened at that time is when the Mughal rulers took over India, they destroyed temples and they built mosques on the place of Krishna's birthplace and the place of Ram's birthplace. So there was a movement in India to build a temple on Ram's birthplace. And so people were marching from all over India. The Queen of Gwalior, things like that. And they were marching from different places. And when they got to Ayodhya, there's a paramilitary group of nationalist Hindus called the RSS. They run India now. They run India now. But at that time they weren't running India, but they were very powerful. And and I knew some people in that organization. And they would have so someone gave the word, and in 1 second they all attacked the mosque, a huge mosque, and they took it down with chisels and hammers. And then there were riots in India. So they called. So all of a sudden I'm here on this train, and the place where I'm getting off and the bus is supposed to pick us up to take us to Vrindavan is Aligarh. And in Aligarh is the center of Islam in India, because you have Aligarh Muslim University. So I get off with like 25 children, and there's no way to get to where I'm getting. So somehow or other, I found the district magistrate, who was a powerful young lady. And she arranged that there's what's called a 1 meter train, like a choo-choo train, to go to a place called Hathras, where she arranged a truck to pick us up. So, and we had like a little military escort, and they were like military people with guns, like this. So in the train, and a blind man walks in the train, and all he had was an oil can, a stick, and a thimble. And Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, had nothing on this blind man. He started to sing, and he started to sing like this: Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. And he was beating with this, and he was starting to chant. He was like fantastic, and it's like a real small train, and put children on the top of and he's going Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram, and he's got this beat. And then I look around and I see, as he's doing this, I see all the policemen with their guns banging in the same beat. And then I just understood that, wow, India is God's country. They have bestsellers, like the Ramayana has been like the bestseller in India for about 3,000 years or something. It's just, or so long. So, and the whole idea of Ram in India also politically, they talk about Raja Ram. Raja means the kingdom of Ram. And he is Maryada Purushottama, where Krishna is Madhurya Purushottama. Maryada means ideal human behavior. Maryada means you follow the rules. Krishna doesn't follow the rules. Krishna, dances with the gopis and, other people's wives, and Krishna's mucking shore and he steals butter and just like in the studio. See, I'll go into Krishna Lila. What can I do? But they started to complain. No, the residents of Vrindavan, what they saw is they saw that Krishna, he killed Palambasura, big demons, and then Krishna killed this demon, he killed that demon, and Chikatasura, and the python demon, whose jaws were to the sky, and Krishna, his friends had so much confidence. Krishna's friends had so much confidence. They said, well, look at this thing. It looks like a big cave, but it may also be a python, a giant python demon, Agasura. I know where that place is in Vrindavan, that pastime. Yeah. His jaws are to the sky. But they said, anyway, they had so much faith, Krishna will save us. We're not afraid. And they went in there, and then Krishna saw what was happening to his friends. And Krishna went in. And then somehow or other, he suffocated the demon. He expanded mystically because he's God. He expanded, and they saw that the soul of the Agasura demon, came out. So he would kill demons like that. And so they would get back and they would have an assembly, and with Nanda Mahārāja and Upananda's older brother, they say, we don't know. He's just a young boy. Is he Yagyabuk or Bali Kali? Is he the one that's eating all the yagyas, or he's a little boy that, he's stealing butter and we think that he must be God. We think he must be the supreme absolute truth. Nanda Mahārāja started laughing. He said, the Param Satyam, the person who tells truth, Krishna speaks all lies. The supreme controller, he just passed urine by the altar. You think that Krishna is the supreme, even in the Bhagavad Gita, there's one verse where Krishna says, I think it's Mammana Bhava Bhakto, worship me. And he says something twice. I forgot what he says twice. This is for sure. This is for sure. It's for the truth. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur in the commentary said, why does he have to say it twice? And he said, because everybody knows all Brijvasis are liars. So he's, Madhurya. He's mucking, dances with the gopis in the middle of the night. Of course, this is all, it's all explained how on the ultimate level, not the human level, on the ultimate level, Krishna is the husband of everyone. So to go to Krishna is the ultimate chastity. But Ram is Maryada Purushottama. And that's what everyone is hankering for in India. They're hankering for everywhere. The king, Maharaj Pricket was such a great king. It's described in the Bhagavatam when he decided to accept the curse because he could have counteracted the curse. That's also a very interesting story because he was out hunting, Maharaj Pricket. He was out hunting and he was practicing his bow and arrow. He's a king. And then he got really thirsty. So he walked into a hermitage of a simple Brahmin. grihasta in the forest, like a hermitage, and he was meditating. And Mahārāja Prikhet walked in and said, "Give me some water," and there was no answer. And he thought that he was ignoring him, so he stormed out. And then he saw a dead snake, and he picked it up with his bow and he put it around his neck. And then the son, Shringi, cursed Mahārāja Prikhet to die. And Prabhupada made a brilliant point. That is how Kali Yuga enters. Kali Yuga enters when people have power but no culture. Power but no culture. So, Mahārāja Prikhet, I was going to make some point in relationship to. Yeah. So when he was cursed to die, Mahārāja Prikhet, he accepted the curse. He said, sadhu something, it is good. And he gave 3 reasons why it's good. I'll be free from my reactions to what I did. I will become detached from this world. And my sin will not go on my family, because the children in a proper culture, they take on the debt of the father. I had one friend in India, and his father owned a company and was an alcoholic, and the father died, and the son owed $1 million. And he paid it back. So I'm losing my train of thought. 1 second. Yeah, so there was nothing lacking in his administration at all. But why did he give it up? They were saying, because nothing lacking. So Ram, there's nothing lacking. And you know, he had that honesty. And therefore, well, anyway, it was the ideal king. And then, of course, there was the question with Sita at the end. You know, he was, the citizens were concerned. Prabhupada called them rascals in one of his purports. But anyway, as the king, he was, you know, concerned. It wasn't just you're voted in by democracy. It was a different system. Sometimes what Prabhupada said about democracy, he quoted in the Bhagavatam, Savidvarai hosta karai samstuta parasha pushu yat karna pato jeta jadu nama gaja. Men are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. They just vote in a big dog camel. You know, what is democracy? It's, but this was a system that there were kings who were saintly. They were saintly kings. They're actually qualified. So it's glorified in India. Now they've made a settlement. There was a settlement made between the Muslims and the Hindus. The Hindus are going to be able to build the most spectacular temple in the world on the original site, because it went to archaeologists, it went to the courts, and it was the site of Ram's original birthplace. And the Muslims got a piece of land nearby where they're building a incredible cultural center. But I did go to Ayodhya once. Anyway, I told you I don't know much about the Ramayana, but I know Maryada Purushottama, the person who is ideal in following. Yeah. Oh, yeah, wait, okay. Even at the beginning, what happened is, oh, that was Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to read some philosophy today. And then I think what I'm going to do for Sundays, because we're in transition between stories that I've done, I think I'm going to do the Dhruva-katha again, which is a fantastic story, Dhruva Maharaj. And it's one of the stories that we have to understand this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna coming to experience the love of his devotee, the topmost devotee, Sri Radha, at the height of our separation. So when he appears, Radharani appears in Gaur Leela, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela as Gadadhar Pandit. But she doesn't have any of the mood. Because generally what happens when the associates of Krishna appear, in phones, no phones. Okay. When the associates of Krishna appear in Gaur Leela, they appear with the same mood. Because it's described that when one practices very advanced levels of bhakti, he meditates on an associate of Krishna. The way we advance in spiritual life, Prabhupada said, is we advance by appreciation. And I always quote Voltaire, that which you appreciate comes to you. So one of the ways that we actually advance, and I was discussing this when I was giving a seminar, is that when you hear pastimes of Krishna and you become purified in your heart and you hear them enough times so that you actually get the message that we should take refuge of God, we should surrender to the truth rather than our whims, that there is an absolute truth. And rather than take dictation from our mind based on our selfishness, we should actually take refuge of the absolute truth and follow that truth. And when you develop that character and you surrender to Krishna, you open the door to real bhakti. Sharanagati is the door to bhakti. Then you enter real bhakti. And real bhakti means a feeling of your relationship with Krishna. Just like it's described in the Padyavali, what is the definition of Krishna consciousness? Sri Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavato Mati. Mati means your mind, Bhavato, in the mood of what? Sri Krishna Bhakti Rasa, your relationship with Krishna. So when you enter into that, and how do you develop that? Well, you hear the Bhagavatam and you start to develop an aspiration. First, it's a general aspiration. Oh, I like to serve Krishna like the residents of Vrindavan serve Krishna. I like to serve Krishna like the residents of Vrindavan serve Krishna. So when Rupa Goswami describes when you get to that level, then your bhakti becomes guided not just by your understanding, but by your heart. Not just by, it's a rule. You can go, for example, to Mangalartik and you have or chant 16 rounds, and when you pull down the last bead, then you say, now I get benefit because I followed the rule. But real bhakti is when you do it not just to follow the rule, but you actually have attraction. So that takes time. But when you enter into that level, then he explains, how do you practice that bhakti? How do you practice that bhakti? And he says, Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrihi. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chat, that you follow a resident of Vrindavan and a resident of, and the same resident of Vrindavan is manifest as a practitioner of bhakti in Krishna's pastimes. This is a little esoteric, but this is the way it works. Seva sadhaka rupena, a sadhaka, a perfected sadhana. For example, you may become attracted to, someone may be attracted, I want to serve Krishna like the young gopis, Manjari. And then you become attracted to serving like Rupa Manjari. Si Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada Se Mora Bhajana Pujana Se Mora Bhajana Pujana Se Mora Pranadana Se Mora Abharana Se Mora. So you may feel, but sadhaka rupena, the same person appears, sadhaka rupena appears in Gaur Lila as Rupa Goswami. So you follow both. So you meditate in that way. So Gadadhar Pandit is Srimati Radharani appears as Gadadhar Pandit. And generally you appear in the same mood. Like Krishna's queen, Satyabhama, appeared as Jagannatha Pandit. And what was Satyabhama's mood? She was very heavy wife. Krishna was even a little afraid of Satyabhama. Right? She had that mood. She had that mood. And Jagannatha Pandit also had that mood. But Gadadhar Pandit came and was exact opposite of the mood of Radha. Radha was a very, strong. And Gadadhar was very simple person. And the reason why is very interesting, because what is Radha's mood? Radha's mood is to serve Krishna. But if Radha comes in her mood is Radha, and Krishna wants to be in the mood of Radha, then in the presence of Radha, he'd have to stay in the mood of Krishna. But she still wanted to serve. And what was Krishna's desire as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I want the mood of Radha. So how did Radha serve that? Taught the Bhagavatam. So every day in Tota Gopinath, you three have been there. You remember Tota Gopinath deities? And you remember the great kirtans in Tota Gopinath temple? And I think even sometimes a feast there, maybe. But so every day he taught the Bhagavatam. But what stories did he teach to help Chaitanya Mahaprabhu get the mood of Radha? He taught the 4th canto, Dhruva Maharaj, and the 7th canto, Prahlad. And why did he teach those? Because if you want to attain your spiritual, you really want to attain real bhakti, you really want to get your relationship with Krishna, you got to be serious. So Prahlad Maharaj, he showed how bhakti should be unbroken. Apratiyata. Your bhakti has to be so good you have to be inspired. So you have to get some inspiration. He lived Prahlad. Wow, his bhakti was unbroken. And what is something that's unbroken? The only act that can be unbroken, that no one can break the thing you're doing, is if they can't give you, if there's nothing better than it, and they can't cause you more pain than giving it up. So bhakti is so good. It's such a goal that Prahlad Maharaj showed. It's such a goal that there was nothing that his father, Hiranyakashipu, could give him better than that. He could, a kingdom and a kingdom and so much wealth, so much opulence. Give up your bhakti. I'll give you the kingdom. I'll give you everything. Why? Why should I give up bhakti? Bhakti is better than that. Okay, you won't give up bhakti? Well, I'll throw you in a pit full of venomous snakes. The snake bite of separation from Krishna is much more painful. So Prahlad, and then Dhruva, because what did Dhruva Maharaj show? Determination in your spiritual practices. So I thought in our pursuit of Rag Marg, maybe I haven't done that in a while. I haven't done this Dhruva-katha. So I think I'm going to do Dhruva-katha. Now, for today, for the rest, I'm going to continue reading from this book, Following the Angels. And if anybody's here in Kali, I am doing it at 5:30. We have a nice little audience of the same people that are here today. They come. So I like Śrīdhara Maharaj as a philosopher. I like his ability to conceptualize and express philosophy. And it inspires me to share what I know. So we'll do a little bit of that. It is only deviation from the truth that brings us to the mundane world. Sent be it sent, deviation from the truth. So what's the truth? The truth is that there is a truth. Jamunajaya like that. The truth is there is a truth and we're meant to serve the truth. The truth is that there's an anga, there's an angi, and there's an anga. The truth is that there's a body and there's limbs. And we are not the body, we are the limbs. That's the truth. We're not the body, we're the arms. That's the truth. And we're meant to serve the body. And when you serve the body, then there's meaning and there's nourishment. So in the same way, we're part of God and we're meant to serve God. That's the truth. And when you don't want the truth, then the only way your desire can be satisfied is to be covered from the truth. So everything works by consciousness. If you want Krishna, you have Krishna. If you want your eternal relationship with Krishna, you have it. It's just that we don't fully want it yet. So the whole process of bhakti is to get that desire in our heart. And the way we get that desire is we hear about those people who have that relationship. So I like that point. He said, only this deviation. And what's the deviation? It starts in consciousness. Just like when I went to that great saint in Barsana, and I asked him to give me some teachings. And he said, everything begins with thought. From good thought comes good actions. From good actions comes good habit. From good habit comes good character. And from good character comes the right destination. So it all begins, the deviation begins from thought. Jayato Vishyam Pumsa, Sanga Sanjayate Kama. Jayate Vishya, what you're meditating on, what you want. then you become frustrated, actually, because we can't be God. We can only imitate. So he said, how and where that deviation begins, we do not know. Why don't we know? Because how can you talk about beginning in a realm which is not subject to time? God is existence. So in the ultimate reality, time does not rule. So how can you talk about beginning in that when God began something? I mean, before that, it didn't exist. So we can never talk. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talked about the dirt of words when you try to enter into that realm. When you discuss, for example, always all philosophical doctrinal controversies, and I'm writing about one now, which will come out in another week, they all begin at these issues of origin. You know, is bhakti inherent in the soul? Is the origin of the jiva? The mind doesn't wrap around these points because there can't be. It's an eternal realm. Time does not rule, and we only understand things through two dimensions of space and time, and they're not above God. So here he says, how and where that deviation begins, we do not know. But deviation from the truth has taken us to this false area. And Prabhupada also spoke like that. When we start to get into these controversies, how did we get here? How's the origin? He said that it's like you're in a well and you're drowning and someone throws you a rope and you start philosophizing. The point is to grab it and get out. That's the real point. Not to waste so much time on these issues, although I spent the last 2 weeks doing so. And it'll soon come out. Very, very interesting. Science is only increasing the circumference of the mortal world. So science doesn't, when Prabhupada talks material science, it doesn't discuss getting out of the world. So it only discusses the world and increasing it. And that's what science has done. Now I'm sitting here in peaceful Kali. Okay, I know. I appreciate that it's given us this, but if it wasn't this type of world, we'd all be in the same village. And I'd be speaking and you'd just be walking across the street. So in one sense, you could say, yes, Prabhupada used the example that to take out a thorn, you use another thorn, but it's not that the thorn is good. So it's the same kind of phenomena. Now, to conquer the technology, we have to use technology. But ultimately, we living in a village with clean air and natural organic vegetables. And there would be 4 months during the rainy season where we wouldn't be working and we'd just be chanting Hare Krishna or going to a holy place. So Prabhupada said, science, he called it Maya Sukhaya. You have all this great transportation. So now, instead of someone growing up with their children, one daughter is in Spain and the other one is in, Los Angeles. And so it's Maya Sukhaya. For every step advancement, there's 2 steps back. Prabhupada gave the example. They made a cure for morphine addiction and it was heroin. So or they made the car and then, it takes 3 hours to get to the airport. See, now instead of walking to work, you get in a car, you get it. So you can see. So he's making that point. It is a world of exploitation. And according to Newton, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We must be conscious of this fact. It's the law of karma. And the law of karma is a moral force. God has made a moral force. Our experiences in this world are pushing us to good. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't be good. All acquisition here is nothing. Like a boomerang, it will return to nothing. So a boomerang is, that thing you throw it out and it comes back. So he's talking about this material acquisition. And he's talking about material acquisition in the wrong consciousness. Because the whole idea, for example, of karma yoga is that we have a sense of exploitation and material selfishness. And therefore, we look at the world as separate from God, and that's the illusion. And that's why we don't feel love. Because of the mood of sense gratification, we're in illusion that it's not God. And when you're in the illusion it's not God, you don't feel God. And when someone becomes Krishna conscious, Prabhupada said they become thrilled at every moment. They become thrilled at every moment because they're feeling God. We described the priyojana is realizing the truth, and realizing the truth is feeling the truth. I'm giving an analogy I just made up right now. Is let's say someone never knew who their father was. Right? Never knew who their father was. And they're in the same room with them. And then all of a sudden, it's a quiz show or something, and this is your father. Then all of a sudden, this feeling comes. The person was there, but without knowing, there was no feeling. Therefore, in the Gita, it says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matas sarvam pavartate iti budva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samad. I am the source of the material and spiritual world. The wise who know this, bhava, they engage in devotional service. So when you have that cognizance, but we don't have that cognizance, so we don't feel God. But when someone is self-realized, he feels God everywhere. So what happens in the world is to rectify our consciousness. Then there are certain things we do. And one is karma yoga. And what karma yoga is you may be working in that material consciousness that causes you illusion, but you give the fruits to God. And by giving to God, you begin to see it as God. So it takes someone who's in a materialistic consciousness and begins to purify that consciousness. That's why charity is so important, because it purifies the acquisition. So he's talking like this. Scientific progress is no progress. And we're experiencing it. We're experiencing it. Look what's happening in the world. Look what's happening in the world. It is a movement in the wrong direction. It is only borrowing. It is not earning real profit at all, but rather it is like taking a loan from nature, and the payment will be extracted from us to the last cents. So you're taking, but you're going to have to pay back. So everything you take selfishly, you're going to have to pay back. So you may think, this here in Kali, there may be fabulously wealthy people, but they're going to have to pay back. If you don't purify yourself, if you don't serve God, if you don't dedicate your family and your household, your partnership, if you don't dedicate it to God, whatever you take is going to come back. It's a loan. So someone could just, enjoy for one day. Probably if you took all your money and spent it in one day, you could act like a millionaire for one day. But it's going to come back. You're using it. It's going to come back. Yeah. So there is no gain, no profit, just exploitation. Science measures the circumference of the world of exploitation. And he's talking about material science. It's measuring the world in how to exploit it, because that's how science is seeing the world. We'll improve ourselves materially, not that we'll do science so that we understand the world. And therefore Prabhupada started the Bhaktivedanta Institute. I went to the first conference of the synthesis of science and religion. And I went to the second one too. The first one was in Vrindavan, Prabhupada's last days. And Prabhupada he very much was proud of his devotee scientists. And I was in the room when after the conference, they all came in their suits. One was Brahmatirtha, who sometimes comes here. Srila Dhamma, they were all in their suits. And Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, get them chairs. And they want, no, Prabhupada, your disciples sit on the floor. Prabhupada says, no, you're respected scientists. Because he realized that material science became like they were the authority of the world, but they didn't have spiritual knowledge. And they were teaching that life comes from matter. And therefore Prabhupada had that book, that life comes from life. So Prabhupada wanted them, he very much, so it measures the circumference of the world of exploitation. Everything is objectified. We are wresting power from nature, taking a loan, but the loan must be settled, not rest assured. That is not progress. One of my friends had a media company called Mantra Media Design, and they hired him to make a film of one of the Peterson Institute. If you look at it, it's like one of the biggest economic think tanks in the world. You look, the president of the Bank of Switzerland, and the president of this, and the president of the Bank of Israel, and the president of the Bank of America, and that, the president of Colombia, and it's all these people. So my friend has what's called in Yiddish chutzpah. He has no shame. So he was filming a little, so he decided to walk around like he was a member of that forum. And he would go in their little groups, and then he would ask a question. And he would say, how are we going to solve the problem of the world that our objective is to give people unlimited wealth or something, or based on oil and things like that, when the resources themselves are limited. I'll just say it was they just couldn't. He was saying, it's an economic forum. What's your goal? Right? Your goal is to give all this, but the resources that you want to do it are limited. So this is not progress. The first principle of any living entity is to remain alive. That is the first principle. That should be the starting point. I'll just finish. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishads, we find a verse. This should be the primary tendency of our quest. What are these three phases? Asato ma sadgamaya. I am transient and I am impermanent. Make me eternal. Who is solving that problem? we as a Krishna consciousness, you realize the soul, you could realize your eternality. Prabhupada was talking about MIT. He said, where is the department to understand the difference between a living body and a dead body? Where is the department to understand the soul? There's so much technology, so many, but the most important thing, people are not studying. And the biggest problem is death. Because suffering is what? Losing your attachments. And what is death? It's when you lose everything. But who's solving that problem? That's a spiritual problem. So Prabhupada said, science is just studying the circumference. What a brilliant statement by Śrīla Dhanurdhara. Science is just studying the circumference of the world of exploitation. Of course, things can have some utility, but the ultimate consciousness and the ultimate result I am ignorant in nescience. Take me from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness unto light. I am this mortal world. I am unhappy, unsatisfied. Take me to the plane of enjoyment. From sorrow, misery, guide me to a fit life there. So that's what should be being done. That should be knowledge. That should be understanding. In the Gita, it just mentions, it's very simple point. What is one of the principles of knowledge? Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha nidarshanam. That the real fault in existence, dukkha, dosha, fault, dukkha, suffering, the real suffering and fault in existence is birth, death, disease, and old age. That's what you have to solve. And that's a spiritual solution, a spiritual problem. So this is of course, disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta. This was Bhakti Siddhanta's. He was very much focused on this. Sometimes he wouldn't talk so much about Ras Tattva, because he said sometimes to grow things, you have to cut the weeds. So he was cutting the weeds. So sometimes it's okay. We sung a little song. I hope I gave a little bhav of Ramachandra. Please, you can go online, dandavat.com. They have stories of Lord Ramachandra. You could read about it. It's kind of my weakness. I'll just tell one other story. I see that my friend Yudhishthir Das is here. And he was the secretary of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So this is just one story that I like, and it's with Ramachandra, because Prabhupada in Juhu, because it's so popular, he has Radha Rasa Bihari deities and Gaura-Nitai, but he also has Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. So there was a court case in Bombay where Prabhupada's son, his eldest son, was suing for ISKCON because the son gets the property of the father unless Prabhupada took sannyas. Then there's no legacy. But the problem is the lawyer in Mathura, who I knew, he screwed up the document. So Narayan Maharaj, who gave Prabhupada sannyas, had to testify. So he was in Bombay. And at the same time, he was known as a Rasika Bhakta, teaching about Radha and Krishna. And that's how we first really got to know him, because Tamal Krishna Maharaj got to know him from that. And he was asking him questions. So he was very, very puzzled, because every day during the Artik, Tamal Krishna Maharaj would be in front of the deities of Lakshman, Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. And in the court case, the main person to defend ISKCON was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, because he was Prabhupada's secretary, and he was the main person that the opposing party was attacking, saying that he engineered this because he was Prabhupada's secretary. So he was on the stand and he was fighting for Prabhupada. And the Rāma Maharaj was very impressed because he had to sit in the court and see Tamal Krishna Maharaj fighting for Prabhupada. But he couldn't understand why every morning Tamal Krishna Maharaj was standing in front of the deities of Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, because where Gaudiya Vaishnava is our Ishtadev is not Maryada Purushottama, but it's Madhurya Purushottama. We worship Gaura-Nitai and Radha Rasa Bihari. That's our aspirations. We're not aspiring to be in Ayodhya. We're aspiring to be in Vrindavan. Of course, there's one God. Ram is Krishna. When we see Ramachandra, what do we say? Oh my God, look, Krishna's dressed as a king. Krishna's in the, so we always have that bhav. It's just like I say with my mother, you know, I'm a guru, so it's my son, the guru. She doesn't see that, you know, I'm like a guru and I'm her guru, or that's my, it's my son, the guru. So when we look at Ramachandra, it's, oh, you know, my Krishna, my son, if you have that relationship, or my lover, or my friend is a king, and it gives bhav. So we look at it a little bit differently. But still, he couldn't understand why Tamal Krishna Maharaj was just staring at Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman every day. It's okay, you take darshan of all the deities, but why was he just staying there? So finally, he asked him. And he says, I'm not worshiping Ram. I'm worshiping the weapons of Ram to fight in the court case for Prabhupada. Because that's Maryada Purushottama. He's the Lord of the law, of the righteousness. And to defend that righteousness, Krishna has the flute, Ram has the bow. So to defend that, so he was meditating on the weapons. And then when the Rāma Maharaj heard that, he said, I learned Guru Nishta from Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Okay, we always start with Jamuna Jaya. So what point did you like today, Jamuna Jaya? Are you still there or you had to go? Okay, maybe she went to, oh, let me see. There's probably a note. Thank you for class. It means she had to go at 7, probably to a class. Okay, anyone like to say hello? Vaibhav?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciated the illumination that you gave me of that verse that says, something like those who know me, they worship me, you know? That verse
where he says it twice. I swear, I promise. He says, I promise twice. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says why he said it twice. I guess he made a joke, but it's also, he's not Maryada Purushottama. He's not the God of law. He's the God of love.
Hey, I don't know if you're talking about the same thing.
Well,
those who worship me with devotion.
Oh, love and devotion. I give. Oh, what are you talking about?
No. Yeah, that is the verse from the Gita. That says, those who know me, right? They worship me with devotion. It was at that time.
Sarvasya prabhavo matasarvam pavartate iti bhutva bhajanti mam buddha bhavasama. I am the source of the material and spiritual world.
Yes.
The wise who know this worship me in devotion. So Buddha Bhava.
Yeah, okay. That analogy that you gave really illuminated that verse for me, you know. or it was very helpful, you know.
What analogy did I give?
That a person, you know, their father might have been standing right next to them the whole time, but once they learn that that's their father.
Right. Gail, I made that up just today, right on the spot. I never heard it.
Just for me, I think. So because that verse has always troubled me, you know. It has always troubled me. And so that was so helpful.
Gail, who's heard literally 5,000 of my classes, knows every one of my jokes, every one of my analogies. To give her something new is really something. Okay. Anyone else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hey, Ram Sadowski. Everybody look at Ram Sadowski. Just tell you that Champak and her fiance will also come on the 24th, just letting you know.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hey, Jai Shri Radhe and Ram Sadowski. And because he's become a great devotee, then in the future, in future generations, people will name their child Ram Sadowski Das. Okay. And his mother is from Siberia, and the father is Sadowski, Polish. So I said that if I'd have to give the kids ethnicity, he's a Polabarian. It's a joke. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. A few more people say hello.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Tota Gopinath here.
Kishori Radha and Priya.
Oh, great. Right, great. See you on Saturday, Tota.
Yes, Haribo.
Okay. And Monday. Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Well, Govinda. Thank you for class.
See you guys soon. Now I'm going to be parked in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we can't wait. It'll be our own little village for a little while.
Yeah. And I'll be looking forward to the Monday lunches.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has to teach you some new recipes.
I know. I've been asking her.
Okay. See if you get some good new recipes from her. Okay.
Okay. Very well.
Okay. Anybody else?
Good to see you safe and healthy, Maharaj.
Hey, good to see you safe and healthy. Okay, great. Good. And you're married to someone from Colombia, so you should make your way. It's beautiful out here. It's just...
You know, maybe somebody there would know the current political situation because she was born in Colombia. So the understanding is that she can't travel straight from the US and enter Colombia, but has to go through Ecuador or something.
Oh, no, that's not true at all.
I'll have to do more research then. Her sister ran into that some years ago traveling there.
No, not at all. I have people here from Colombia that go to America and come back and
But she has a US passport, as you know, but was a Colombian national, I guess, because the government apparently doesn't want people to give up their Colombian nationality.
No. They're all shaking their head here. I have an audience of what? Whatever it is, it's changed. Hey, Henry, where are you?
You know, Dallas, Maharaj. I'm in Dallas. Brajabihari's son Gopinath was initiated yesterday as he was initiated yesterday by Rakṣaka Swami, And, Giriraj Swami was present. It was a really amazing, in the beautiful Dallas temple room in front of the 500-year-old Radha Kala Chandri, surrounded by the beautiful collection of B.G. Sharma paintings. And, it was just ecstatic. I was just like one of the best days I've ever had. I spent 8 hours at the temple, and so many, devotees in wonderful moods, and remembering the old days, talking about Tamal Krishna Goswami. It was just absolutely fantastic. And Tamal Krishna Goswami's Samadhi in Dallas is a place of pilgrimage, Mahārāja. I just got so much shelter there, so much shelter.
Wow. Wow. Did he get a new name, or he kept the same?
He did get a new name, and I got to look it up here. Yes, I just want to make sure I get it right, because I know I'm on the, so it's Gokula Rajadas.
Gokula what? Raja?
Gokula Raja Das.
Okay.
He pronounced it, I think, not to correct you, Henry, but how he spells it, I don't know, but Rāma Swami said Gokul Raj.
Okay. Gokul Raj.
Please correct me. Always correct me, Prabhu. I live to be corrected.
Actually, you're both right.
Yeah, both correct. It just...
Because Gopal Raja, the last A is short, and it can be left out if you want.
Right.
It can be Gopal Raj or Gopal Raja. But as Rāma Swami, his guru, said Gopal Raj, then I guess that will be there. But it's great. Wow. What a family. And what a life you have now, Henry. Every week you're in a different place. Okay. Haribo. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Krishna Maharaj, this is
Who is that?
Isabel.
Oh, Haribo, Isabel. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Nice to hear from you. One more person?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Melissa. Thank you so much for letting me enjoy this Sanga.
Lissa, all your friends here are missing you. Say hello.
I miss you too. Hello. Hello from the mountain.
Okay, great. And Melissa, thanks for helping out with Siddheshri. That's really great.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. She's extraordinary. Extraordinary. Really, really. Thank you so much for introducing her.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Great. Thanks for coming on, class. So we're always here. Anybody else? One more person?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Sri Gandharvika.
Sri Gandharvika, when do you arrive in New York?
After Sadhusanga, like 30th of May, I think.
20th of May. And that means you'll be resettling there, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. Let's see.
Okay. 20th of May.
Oh, 30th.
30th of May. Wow, yeah. Right after that.
After the Sadhusang.
Oh, Sadhusang in
Utah, Spanish folk.
You'll go there with Sri Prahlad, okay.
Yeah.
But Raghunath's having some kind of retreat at Super Soul. Maybe Sri Rupa can go up there with you for a day. Anyway.
That'd be great.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Great. Hare Krishna. Good news. Wow. That's so nice. Okay. All right. We'll head out. It was just nice because I missed one class to get back with everybody. Okay. And I see everybody that's in the class. I just go through the list, and it's always nice to see everyone. Okay.